So today I'd like to dive deep again into the topic of cell respiration, and I'm going to now continue the breakdown of organic substances. So you already watched the video on glycolysis and also on reduction oxidation reactions, because this is the information that we're going to need. And today's topic is the link reaction. And if the word link reaction sounds too simple for you, and if you're looking for a slightly more scientific way of expressing it, well, here it is. Oxidative decarboxylation of pyruvate. Oxidative decarboxylation of pyruvate. Almost a little tongue twister. And this is a fairly short step, and it happens in the mitochondria, in the matrix of the mitochondrion. And what we do is we start off with pyruvate. Now remember that pyruvate is the end product of glycolysis. And as a matter of fact, there are two molecules of pyruvate are made from one molecule of glucose, and I'm just going to look at one of those molecules now, and I'm going to show you now what's going to happen to this pyruvate as we continue to break it down. Now in cell respiration, remember the point is we want to break down the organic substances to release energy. Okay, so ultimately everything's going to be burned up and present in the form of carbon dioxide, CO2, but we're not there yet, but step by step we're getting there. Okay, so pyruvate, then of course I need a big, huge, large arrow. And because something's going to happen to this pyruvate. As a matter of fact, this pyruvate, let me move everything over a little bit. This pyruvate is converted to a substance that we know as acetyl coenzyme A. I have to move over a little bit so that you're able to see everything. Acetyl coenzyme A is the name of the substance. And look over here. Pyruvate has how many carbons? It's a C3 substance. It has 3 carbons. Acetyl coenzyme A, at least the acetyl group, has how many carbons? 2 carbons. So we're going down from 3 carbons all the way down to 2 carbons. So where did this carbon go? Okay, remember, law of conservation of matter and energy. Matter and energy cannot be made or destroyed. So if we're kind of losing a carbon somewhere, it's got to go somewhere. And you're probably going to find the answer already in the name here. It's a decarboxylation reaction. So we're removing it in the form of CO2. So I'm going to add another arrow over here. And over here, this is our CO2. Okay, here we go. Okay. So this is where the carbon went. Yeah. So that's the decarboxylation reaction, is the removal of a carbon dioxide. Now we also need to oxidize it. This basically means we're removing now high energy electrons. And these high energy electrons, if you remember, where are they stored? They are stored in a molecule called NADH. So I need another arrow over here. And this is where our NADH is. Okay. Yeah, so here, this is the oxidative decarboxylation, oxidation. And now you might wonder a little bit, what about the CoA? The CoA stands for coenzyme A. And this is simply a group that we have to add. We put it over here, the CoA. And this CoA we're adding, so I need to put an arrow over here as well. And we're adding it, and this coenzyme A is attached now to the acetyl group and ends up in here. And later on, we're going to remove it again. So I think it's not that important, really. But for the sake of completion, we have to include it. Otherwise, you're going to wonder, what does the CoA actually stand for? Okay, so we have to add a coenzyme A to it, and then basically we've got acetyl coenzyme A over here. Now, this acetyl CoA is a pretty central and pretty important substance in cell respiration. We're going to hear about it later again, or as a matter of fact, I can tell you right now, because when fats, lipids, that is, when fatty acids are broken down, then those fatty acids are broken down to acetyl CoA. Okay. So basically, if you remember, fatty acids are long chain of carbons. And what happens is that those fatty acids are broken down into 2 carbon pieces, and then acetyl coenzyme A is made. I have to tell you this because occasionally there is an exam question that asks, how are fatty acids broken down? And now you know that fatty acids are converted to acetyl coenzyme A. Yeah, and you know what I have to tell you right now? We're finished. This was the link reaction. But why is it so important? Because again, it shows that organic substances are broken down to carbon dioxide, and the energy that was stored in the bonds will now be here in the form of high energy electrons in NADH. Then that's actually the important thing for you to remember. Something has to happen to the carbons, and something has to happen to the energy. It's got to go somewhere. And this is basically where it is. And then, of course, ultimately the carbon dioxide, if this were to happen in humans, the carbon dioxide and then is exhaled over our lungs. So this essentially means that, of course, the food that we eat ultimately is to a large extent broken down to carbon dioxide. But we're not finished yet, because there are still 2 carbons over here in the acetyl-CoA, and a lot of energy is also left in here. And that is also something that we have to deal with. So we also have to completely oxidize acetyl-CoA to get out the last bit of energy that is still stored in here. And that is done in the next step of cell respiration, which is called the Krebs cycle. But I'm not going to talk about it now. I'm going to talk about it in the next video. Okay. So that's it for today, and bye-bye.